Welcome to Wisdom Teachings with Dr. Amanda Love. Today's topic, all inclusivity. All inclusivity. It seems as though there is always something inside of our experience that we are trying to get rid of, move past, or make different. A near constant restlessness or unsettledness with what is here now. It appears that we can't have the peace and happiness that we desire until said thing or things somehow change. For most of us, this is our everyday reality. We are immersed within the vibrational state of consciousness of things never being quite enough, quite right, or quite as we want them to be. We strive, we work, and we do in order to attempt to feel and experience life in the ways that we want to, and yet we never seem to arrive there. Feelings of frustration, anger, hopelessness, and powerlessness arise as we fail at our attempts to make our life experience be as we think it needs to be in order to feel what we want to feel. We get a little hopeful when something changes in the direction of what we view as better, but soon enough, things change again in ways that we view as unfavorable, and we find ourselves in the endless cycle of suffering. Logically, we know that acceptance ends the cycle, yet our minds don't want to let go and feel what is or isn't here that is not preferable or desirable to us. Acceptance of what is feels like acceptance of failure, and we dislike not winning at the game we are playing. The mind wants to win. It wants what it wants and what it thinks it needs, and it is very hard for it to see anything else. It is particularly hard for it to see that whatever is showing up inside of our experience of life is exactly what we need. When our experience is hard, painful, or unpleasant, our mind's capacity to stretch and include what is here gets fervently challenged. We insist that something must be different in order for us to experience what we want, and yet if we stopped our insistence, even for just a few moments, the light would begin to shine through our mind. The light of a stream of consciousness that is different than the one we are in. One that is brighter, more illuminated, and more aware and awake. One that has a wider perspective and is more inclusive than where we currently see from. This stream of aware, awake consciousness is not reserved for just a few special spiritual people. It's for all and is all. It is you, but from an expanded view of yourself. This stream is always here and always accessible. However, sometimes it seems like it's not because our hold on our limited perspective is so strong. We want to keep insisting that something we are experiencing should not be included inside of our experience. Our unwillingness to include keeps us disconnected and feeling separate and powerless from life and from this larger view of ourselves. While our minds think that they are in charge of everything, they are not. In actuality, our minds are not designed to know what will happen, when it will happen, or how it will happen. Yet this is what we attempt to use our minds to do all day long. Our minds are simply filters that allow us to operate inside of this reality that we are experiencing. For a moment, I want to differentiate between what we call our ordinary mind and what we call our higher mind. Our ordinary mind is what we are all most familiar with and what we think of as who we are. It contains our stories, identities, rules, and programs about what we think life is supposed to be. Its focus is self-preservation. It does not see or know the bigger picture of life and how everything is orchestrated personally, planetarily, and galactically, nor is it supposed to. It's simply not its job. The higher mind is the mind that knows. It is the aspect of ourself that does all of the orchestration of life. It takes multiple views and perspectives into consideration. It sees beyond anything that our ordinary mind could conceive. It is the one in charge of everything. We are often not in conscious connection with this aspect of ourselves, yet we can connect to it in an act of surrender. When we include everything that is inside of our experience and stop resisting any darn thing, we can experience our higher mind. When our ordinary mind allows everything that exists to exist, in this act of inclusivity, we see and experience what the higher mind knows. While we might not have full understanding of what we see due to the fact that we are operating inside of a limited mental framework, we do get to experience peace. As it is said, this is the peace that passes all understanding. We don't need to understand everything. We simply need to include it as existing, as part of our experience, and as something that is relevant for us because it is present for us. Now, you might be thinking that you are pretty easygoing and in acceptance of most things that come your way. While that may very well be true, I find that there is always deeper levels of inclusivity to include. Maybe you have some annoying pain in your body that you keep chasing after to get to go away, rather than including and allowing it to be. Perhaps you get irritated by someone in your life, but you brush it off. Maybe you simply don't consider the levels of yourself that exist beyond your ordinary human orientation. Aspects of yourself that are alive in varying planes of awareness and consciousness. There is always more to include until you arrive back to the very source of undifferentiated consciousness, the primordial spark from which all of creation was and is created, where there is no experience, no thing, and what is knows itself as itself and never left itself. The unique speck of differentiated consciousness that you are playing yourself out to be as a human being in truth, has never left home. Yet in order for us to experience anything, we had to give ourselves the illusion that we could separate. This is what we call suffering. Through inclusivity, we find our way back home into the one source that we are, where we know that what we truly are organizes every single detail of our lives, and we don't have to worry. Where we know peace inside of our experience of the illusion of separation. You can know it's an illusion and still participate in the game. This is where the peace you desire, while being focalized as a human being, resides.